exactly the right distance from this microphone, so no one's going to suffer too much at least. But it's great to be back in Walla. I think I was here like 4 years ago, but I think it was actually my 5th time, so that's sort of, I know, clearly. Actually, the first time when I told my editor at Food and Wine that I wanted to come to Walla, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, and she said, no idea what you're talking about, you know, I have no idea what Walla is. And I asked a friend of mine, one of my dear friends lives in Seattle, and she had just been to Walla, and I said, you know, what's it like? And she said, there are a lot of Apple-head dolls there. That's a lot of information that I can present to my editor to the story, but in fact I did make it here. But I guess to begin, I have to say, you know, I've given a lot of speeches before, but I've never been quite as nervous about something as I am now, and that's to know that whatever I say, I'm going to hear almost immediately how you feel about it. So, you know, I think it's a lot of the same time there's this beautiful immediacy, you know, about blogging. There's also the, dare I say, terrifying aspect, you know, of what he says. But I digress, of course, because the subject of my speech, which you may or may not realize, is supposed to be the importance of voice. And it is something that I feel quite strongly about. You know, I was, as Robin said, you know, a wine columnist for Food and Wine for 10 years, and now as the wine columnist for the Wall Street Journal. I have to say that I do believe that the voice is the most important thing that the writer can have. And in fact, it's the only thing that gives you a reason to read a particular writer over another, or a particular newspaper over another, or a magazine over another, or certainly a blog, you know, over another. And I think that, you know, in many respects, a blogger is sort of the perfect, the purest expression of a voice. Because you have, you know, when I was a columnist for a magazine, it was my voice, but it was filtered through the sensibility of a particular food magazine. And then as a columnist, you know, for the Wall Street Journal, you know, I'm writing for the most influential newspaper, you know, in the world. So it's not just, you know, Lettie Teague, it's the Wall Street Journal and going in line with that. But as a blogger, you know, you have the opportunity. It is your voice. You are your own editor, for better or for worse. Unless those of you actually have employed editors. I can speak to that being a very good thing as a writer. Also fact checkers, but you know. But maybe we should spend a little time talking about what a voice is. And I'm reminded, you know, that remember that this is, you know, ages ago when Chief Justice Potter Stewart said, when asked to define pornography, you know, he said, I can't offer an exact definition, but I know it when I see it. And I think that's the only famous thing that Justice Stewart ever said. This is back in 1964, so you know that was a shocking thing to hear a Chief Justice say. But I think I feel about voice pretty much the same way. You know, I think, you know, a voice is unmistakable. You hear a voice, like, you know, who else would Woody Allen could say, you know, I failed to make the chess club because of the height requirement, you know, and that's kind of classic Woody Allen. Or you know, what is it? Unrequited love is the only kind that lasts. You know, I mean, that's a voice.
Are you doing? He's doing coffee cup wine. He's spitting in his coffee cup.
Baby carriages up on blocks. You brought it. That was actually not Woody Allen. Okay. That was Ronnie Dangerfield. But that's an unmistakable voice. You hear it and you know who that is. And so that to me is voice. It's something that is very, really distinctive. That and different. But then of course, having said that, you say, but you know, if that's what voice is, can it be taught? Is voice something that is innate, or is it something that you know can be learned? And so I decided, rather than just give you my opinion on this, I pulled a bunch of writer friends of mine whose voices I think are distinctive, and one friend said right away, and she's a writer for the New York Times, for local magazines, written a bunch of books, and she's absolutely not. You cannot teach someone a voice. It's innate. You know, they have to have it. It's like having you know, good teeth or you know a high cheekbone voice. And another, yes, neither of those are there. No, but and then as another friend of mine who is a very, very tiny writer, and he said absolutely not. You have to have it. You know, it's innate. You know, it's part of your essence of who you are. So I went to another friend. If you ask enough people, you get enough different answers. But I went to my friend Ben Cheever, and son of Tom, and I said, you know, his voice, and who I think has a really distinctive voice. And he said, yes, you know, it is something that can be taught. And he said, that, you know, and I want to read you what he said, because actually he emailed me. Because I don't know about you, but nobody actually talks on the phone anymore. You just email. You know, it's like a shock to get a human being on the phone. But he said we're all born with distinctive voices, just like we're all born as individual souls, but you have to unearth it. Most beginning writers have the same voice, dull and revealing very little of the writer or what he or she is writing about. Some people had a decent voice for talking, but are crippled on the page. Some are nimble on the page, but never say anything worth remembering. That's the sort of creep who often makes a brilliant writer. They can't live, so they write instead. And then he said, of course, there are plenty of people who can't live or write either. We can pause for a few minutes and you can think about who those people might be. And then I asked my friend Stephen Shaw, who you may or may not know. He's the founder of Keynote, very accomplished in this world, and also he's a professor of new media at Science Culinary Institute, and he teaches a class in food blogging, which is also land blogging. And he said maybe as a professor, it's the things that. But he said with enough persistence and practice that a writer could develop their voice. And of course, to him, the most important thing about blogging, as all of you know, is to do it over and over again. And that's it, consistency. And to him, the other aspect that was important in developing a voice is a willingness to be controversial, and to do something that, to go on the limb, to express an opinion, to be, someone that had a particular take.
I've had that.
And he told me about, and probably, would you like to guess what the statistic is for people that they spend $695 to take Stephen's class, and how many of them, after having done this, I think it's like a month and a half long or something, what percentage do you think of people are still blogging after the class? Anyone care to speculate? Okay, you guys are really pessimistic. I thought this figure was low, but it's 20% that are still blogging. But he said there was this one blogger in particular, you remember, going back to the notion of a controversial voice, that she had this great idea. He said, a great idea, as you know, is critical to blogging. And she said she wanted to write about ice cream. And so she was like, okay, well that's not hardly novel. She said, but I want to write about sex and ice cream. Like really raunchy sex and ice cream. I don't know what her favorite was.
There's an audience.
I know it. I don't know if she. Guess what? She didn't keep at it, so we don't know if she, she just lost interest in raunchy sex and ice cream, or just something happened. But it was. He said that was an example. Someone that she had a voice. But here's the question: is so given this now, yes, no, maybe. The question is, how do you develop your voice? If you don't, how do you find the things that irritate, inflame, and impassion you? And for me, as a writer, as a columnist, those are the things that I gravitate to. The things that I have a really particular, maybe not universal feeling about, but it's something that I really care about. Like my column in the journal today, it's about the language of language, which I find a fascinating subject. I don't know if anyone reads the journal, but it's something that I was obsessed with for years, and so I finally stopped to write about it. And I think that's really key to a voice is writing your obsessions and passions that, of course, all the time. Raunchy sex and ice cream or the language of mind. But if it's not, if you can't go there, if you can't really, put yourself out there so much, I think that it's developing your persona. You've got the perfect example of Matt Drudge. It's like, Dora and Matt Drudge. Or Gail Green, sex addict, restaurant critic, it's like a persona. I don't know if that's really a persona, but I'm going to believe that it is. So I think that if you want to take it a step removed, and I know that there are those of you here tonight that have in fact adapted a persona, or I'm assuming it's a persona. And then I think the other thing is learning to identify what your voice is, and I think that that's what you think your voice is, and what other people perceive your voice to be. And I was talking to a friend of mine and saying that actually I think the simplest exercise to find out what your voice is to write a friend a letter. Is that just write a letter? Email. Okay, nobody writes a letter. And I think with that, it's you're wholly yourself. You're expressing yourself, and in the most in the simplest way possible. And I guess at this point, I don't know if I filled my allotted time or run over it, but I guess in a sort of summation, of what the point of all this is and what the conversation about voice is. And I don't know if it can be a conversation, if maybe we have some time, or if this just remains a monologue, but